The way that this usually starts or surfaces is that a person or a couple comes in relationship crisis. Mm-hmm. And the way they describe the crisis to me usually is, first and foremost, I caught my partner cheating in some way. So living some kind of double life. They've caught them spending hours and hours on pornography, or they found out about an affair or multiple affairs. And so those will be the descriptors about why we're in crisis. Yeah. Right. And most therapists can kind of meet them at that moment and say, okay, you're in a marital crisis, but things just don't feel right. Why do I walk out of couple sessions and I feel like I'm to blame when I just caught my partner lying and sneaking around, but then now I'm being shamed for like not having sex with him or her enough, or that I nag too much, and that feels so unright to me, like we're not fixing the problem. I walk in and we're in a crisis issue because my partner has been doing nefarious lying, sneaking around behaviors, and then suddenly we're talking about marital problems. This isn't a marital issue. Exactly. My partner made choices to go outside the marriage and live this double life.
When your relationship gets blown apart by any type of cheating, no relationship advice will help you. The only way you can save your relationship is when you stop trying to save your relationship. And any attempt to repair your relationship might be the thing that brings it to an end. That might not seem to make sense, but here is what you need to know. An addiction is not a marital problem. What this means is that your bickering, your fights, even intimacy problems in your relationship have absolutely nothing to do with your partner's severe problems. Stick with us. This is the most important episode of Marriage Health we've ever filmed, because Kristin Snowden is one of the best experts in the world on helping couples understand this one idea that changes everything.
Substance use that you didn't realize was so bad, pornography use, lying and sneaking around about money and women or men or affairs or other types of secret behaviors. That is not a marital issue.
Right.
That's right.
That is a person making poor choices and using poor coping skills issue that has to be talked about. And then later, like marital issues come in. A lot of people miss that.
This all comes down to one really hard question. Is this my fault? If you are the type of person who always takes responsibility, this might be hard for you to believe, but the answer is no. So no, your arguments, not having enough sex, your issues in your marriage don't have a single thing to do with their serious problems, their addiction. And if you're meeting with a counselor, a therapist, a coach, a pastor, or close friend that is blurring the lines between your marital issues and your partner's problems, they probably mean well, but they're not going to help you.
A person or a couple will come in because they're feeling like it's a relationship crisis, and they've been told when there's an affair, when there's lying, sneaking around behavior, and you're questioning, who is this person that I married? I'm not even sure who this person is because I don't recognize these behaviors and choices. We've all been instructed to go to marriage counseling.
Right.
And I feel like the run-of-the-mill marriage counseling may, not always, miss the really paramount, very important moment where they assess, is this truly like a dark seasonal marital problem? Or is this a total other addiction issue? Which, it's they act out when things are great. They act out when things are bad. They act out with an extreme amount of gaslighting. They make a lot of promises that they're going to get better. They're doing these elaborate behaviors to continue to hide their outside behaviors. That's a whole world that most professionals and only those people who are trained in this particular type of field know how to ask those kind of questions.
The day and age that we live with, there's so much access, pornographic material to talk to other people online, converse without other people knowing. And some people go, oh, no. I'm doing this on the side. How's my spouse going to know that? They do. You are feeling that as the partner in the scenario, like, am I going crazy? Because I'm constantly thinking about, wait a second, that didn't sort of line up. Or I walk into my house, there's tension there. When I ask my spouse about things, there's anger or frustration, or there's sort of projection back on me that I'm crazy. There might even be some gaslighting going on. All of that starts to make me feel like I'm living in this gigantic fog.
A lot of couples come to us and they think they have the answer to their problems. Work got in between us, I didn't feel loved, or I felt devalued, or this or that. That's good on the surface level, but most people don't have a clue of the origin. What started this whole thing? Where did this begin?
What started this and where did it begin? Answering those questions might be impossible unless you have help. These are the Crafts, James and Terry. They don't know how the internet works, anything about YouTube, TikTok, or social media, and that's okay because they know a bit about something else: marriage. In fact, they've helped some of the most influential couples in the world, and they've also helped couples going through the hardest situations imaginable. The reason why James and Terry are able to help couples go through really hard things is because they've been through it themselves, and they came through the other side. Marriage Health with James and Terry Kraft, featuring Kristin Snowden.
Can you remember the first time somebody looked at you and said you were an addict?
Good question. Yes. I was told by my counselor, therapist at the time, and he said it straight up with me: James, you are an addict and you're broken. And it devastated me, especially coming from a home where I had a parent. One of my parents was an addict and had to go to rehab a couple times. And I never wanted to be associated with that. People hate the term addiction being labeled onto them, because there is a persona of addiction. I'm not an addict. I'm not an addict. That's a denial structure that people live in. I'm not an addict. I don't do it that bad. I'm in control. It's my wife. It's the gaslighting that goes forward.
Right.
And so
she made me do it. She made me do it. I mean, that's the thing. That's one of the huge constructs to continuing to act out in this addictive type pattern. Is while I'm in this marital unit, and unfortunately, a couple's marriage environment can continue this blaming narrative, which is it's the marriage that's making me go out and do these nefarious behaviors, which can be so much more damaging
100%.
in the healing process or counterproductive to it.
Yeah, for sure.
And also, let's say the other thing about addiction or being labeled an addict as we're trying to work towards recovery and healing is that you learn, if you've been labeled as an addict, the very basic concept is no longer can I trust my best thinking.
That's right.
Right.
I have to therefore lean into this entire recovery construct that I have avoided doing my entire life. Most of my career, I've worked in high-end treatment centers in the Malibu area. So 90% of my clientele have been Fortune 500 CEOs, people very high up in various industries. So not just one particular industry. And they all on the outside appear to be very high functioning. And so, I guess I'm just kind of never fooled by the exterior of, what they're wearing, how well they exert themselves.
For sure.
Because honestly, a lot of them have just been well trained from childhood.
That's right.
Again, like I said, to have this incredible skill to lie and manipulate and do everything you can to maintain your external optics.
That's right.
And on the outside, you just look a certain way to everybody else. And hey, you're winning. All of a sudden, you run into a therapist like us who rips the Band-Aid off and says, I'm on to you. And this sounds actually pretty awful. And their fragile egos don't know what to do with it. You start asking the harder questions and kind of digging through the BS and the manipulation.
That's right.
And what you're really trying to do is assess, is this what I call like a seasonal moment of a dark place and space in this person's life and the marriage that has brought on this substance abuse or infidelity? Or is this part of a bigger, addiction problem pattern, behavioral pattern that's going on.
Yeah.
And that's a huge thing that I find only people who specialize in what we specialize tend to do that.
Yeah. The situation when someone has more than one thing going on, we call it like a comorbid. We call that a comorbid or okay, I'm going to be able to say this right. Comorbidity, meaning there's like more than one thing going on at the same time. And what's really good about having that professional in your experiences is that that's what we're looking for, right? Where when you're sitting in your seat, you're thinking there's been lying and deception, and maybe there's some procrastination going on. This person keeps forgetting their priorities, and it's impacting me. You know, there's this sort of anger cycle that's happening, isolation, a lot of these things that are just happening, but I'm not able to put all the pieces together. And you come to my office and you're like, this is a problem. This is the symptom I'm seeing. Somebody who has a professional background, you start to dissect it and realize, you know, there's more than one thing happening here. If you just pause for a second and we turn our gaze to the partner, you know, that is excruciating when it's not even defined. And it feels like I'm walking in the dark and trying to figure out why in the world I feel the impact of the intimacy disorder. It feels as if I'm slowly dying.
But very intangible, because it's that classic frog boiling in the pot, because no one teaches these kind of things in class. No one teaches you this kind of subconscious, you know, why do I have a sense of no value and worth? Yeah. And you're maybe not able, because your partner maybe never came home and said, wow, you're useless or you're pathetic. But they might come home every day in their own disgruntled, you know, avoidant behavior, where they have to kind of pull up a wall of criticism in order to keep the distance between you and them. Because for an avoidant type person who wants to act outside of their relationship, they want to, like, being too close to you is like smothering and overwhelming to them. So they might not come home and say, you're valueless, I don't want to touch you. But they would definitely come home and kind of make a face and be like, God, the kitchen is a mess. You were home all day. Is this all you could do? And then, and what those kind of moments do is they just start eating away at your soul. And it starts kind of plucking away at, like, oh my God, am I bad? I mean, I know I have 3 kids, but I guess the house is a mess, and I am home all day, and so God, I am failing. And then you multiply that by several incidences and an inability to talk through this stuff, and you just know something's wrong and something's not okay, but you can't put your finger on it.
And because this challenge is so confusing and devastating, we want to share this video as much as possible. Everyone walking through this needs to see it. We try to stick to the rules with YouTube, and we aren't allowed to post the entire video on 2 channels. But again, this episode is critical. So if you click the link in the description, you can jump right back into the conversation at the exact moment where we left off on the Marriage Health channel. A huge thank you to Kristin Snowden for helping so many hurting people find their way through this. See you in a moment.